I've sat on Esther once before, and I've taught Sarah once before, but it was quite a long time ago. It was about, you were here 2 years ago, weren't you? Good girl. Now, I apologize if any of you were here yesterday and heard me say this twice, but I'm going to say it anyway, because about 6 people came up afterwards and said, you really made a good point there. I said to the audience yesterday, you should always look a horse in the eye before you get on him, because it's a natural courtesy to look the horse in the eye, because you're going to do something quite personal with that horse. You know, it's quite an imposition, the horse having us on his back. People don't think of it like that. They just think, oh, get on my horse. But I think it's polite just to say hello, look the horse in the eye, and sort of mentally ask permission. And then I said, after all, because it's quite an intimate thing, riding, I said, you wouldn't dream of going to bed with someone without looking in them in the eye first. Would you? And it's about as personal as that, I reckon, because there's your body on their body, and it's all quite... Have you adjusted the stirrups? You are kind. Thank you.
Now, I've put them where they kind of appear to have been.
Brilliant. Thank you. They're a bit long, but never mind. I'll just leave them.
She's very small.
She's very small. What is she? 15'2"?
14'3".
14'3"? Well, she looks big. She's very grand, aren't you? So my legs are going to look horribly and dangly, but never mind. Now, what I want to do with Esther is just give her a little bit more feeling of collection. And as I said, I've only ridden her once before, so there's no sort of secret trick here about knowing what she's going to do or how she's going to react to me. But what I really want to do is slow that walk down, because it's fine on a hack whizzing along, but this little horse, no, you're not going to do that. This little horse needs to think about just listening to me a little bit more. Why are you doing that, eh? I haven't got spurs on, you know. No, I haven't. It's these long legs, that's what it is. I just want to go a little more slowly. I tell you why. How many people here have heard of Nuno Oliveira? Put your hands up. Quite a few of you. He was a great Portuguese maestro. Oh, you're very cross with me. She said, you're sitting different from my mum. Yes, I am. And Nuno Oliveira used to say, when you slow the horse down to collect it up, what you're doing is you're just steadying the whole process and not letting the horse go so much on the forehand, which allows the hind legs to do more work. And therefore, the whole thing becomes more poised and more powerful. Because what you're doing is you're coiling the horse up a little bit like a spring. And once the horse is like a spring, you've got a lot more energy at your disposal. But the point is, you don't let all the energy out at once. And I think she's a bit cross, because she wants to let the energy go. And I'm saying to her, no, we're going to conserve that energy until I'm ready. And one of the exercises that we do when the horse is strong enough behind, and you've got that feeling of spring in their body and energy, is the piaffe. And the piaffe cannot happen unless you slow the whole process down and allow the horse to start to take shorter steps. Now, Sarah, do you do piaffe with her, or have you just started? She does it on her own. See, she thinks she should be doing it with me, I think, at the moment. So we're just going to play with that a bit. She's very cross at being asked to go a little bit shorter and a little bit slower, but I'm not pulling on the reins at all. They're very soft. But I think she just feels I'm asking a bit more maybe than her mummy is. What are you doing? I think she thinks she should be doing piaffe all the time. Let's try that again. So I'm going to just gently shorten the walk, not by pulling on the rein, just by sitting taller, using a little more leg, and with my body almost thinking half halt. Oh, good girl. That wasn't bad. And now she gets her reward. So you see, there's nothing wrong with slowing the walk down, provided you keep the energy going. But all these things are relative to the horse's education. Obviously, I wouldn't do this with a 5-year-old. Esther is 14. So there's no harm in starting to introduce her. No, you're not going to go whizzing off. She's awfully anxious to go whizzing off. I think she thinks she wants to go hunting or something. Now, you're preempting me. I didn't ask for that. Let's just have a trot. Come on. Oh, she said, we'll have a canter. So we'll have a canter. Oh, dear, we're in an awful hurry. In an awful hurry. Let's try a bit of counter-canter. Does she know counter-canter, Sarah? No? No, she said she wanted to do normal canter. Let's try that again. Does she do counter-canter with you?
She does do counter-canter.
She's awfully cross. Usually horses are nice to me, or pleased with me, but she's not very pleased. I think she thinks I'm too big. What I'm trying to do, though, is in the canter get a feeling of lift. No. A feeling of lift, Esther. A feeling of lift. And we're going to stay in counter-canter, please. And I'm going to ride you with one hand. And I'm going to concentrate on that right fore. And that's quite nice. So you see, I don't need both hands. And now she's quite happy. And we'll go back onto the correct leg. Good girl. Stretch, reward. All the school exercises are designed to strengthen the horse. Counter-canter is a great exercise because it works the hind end of the horse again. We were talking at the beginning about the horse never being pulled in front. We've got to work the hind end. We've got to make it athletic. Counter-canter is the only exercise that stretches the loin muscles. And the loin muscles are really important. Now, from that little counter-canter, we're going to ask for a little bit of canter half pass, which, again, I don't think Esther knows. But canter half pass is not as scary as it sounds, because you don't have to worry, like you do in walk and trot, about the horse crossing its legs, because in canter, the half pass comprises a series of bounds. It's sideways leaps. So provided your aids are correct, your weight is correct, you've got a little bit more weight into the inside seat bone and the inside stirrup, the horse should actually follow you in the direction you want to go. We'll just have a little go at that without her getting so cross. Should we go to canter, Esther? Come on. Oh. She just says, you're so different from my mummy. So we'll try and come from the center line, a bit crooked, back to the track. Just a little bit, Esther, without you rushing off, without you rushing off, without you rushing off, and then you can go back into counter-canter. Good. So that was a little bit of a beginning. It wasn't perfect. It takes years to perfect any movement. We'll try it on the left rein. And again, I stretch, because that's quite a demanding movement for the first time. And really, the aid was very simple. I just had to sit a little bit more into the inside stirrup and nudge her a little bit with the outside leg. Everyone says, what about the reins? Well, I tell you what, I think I'm going to do the rest of this demo one-handed. If I was a cavalryman, I'd have a sword in this hand, so forgive me not having the sword, but we've got the stick instead, so we'll do that. So I'm going to ride her one-handed because the lovely thing about riding one-handed is if you're going to the left, you just take both reins to the left. But the good thing about that is it brings the outside rein against the horse's neck, which is an aid in itself. The outside rein against the neck is an aid for turn or sideways, so it's going to help me in the counter-canter. Sarah's very kindly told me that the reason Esther's so cross is because she's not used to these long legs on her. And I can understand that. So I'm afraid she's just got to get used to it for the purpose of this demo. Right, we're going to try the, no, come on, calmer. I'll keep my legs very still, I promise. Is that better? Is that better? I won't move them. Right, for the purpose of this demo, I said about using one hand. Okay, if you have one hand and the reins in one hand, you want to go left, all you do is take your hand slightly to the left. If you've got your reins in one hand, you want to go right, you do the opposite. Now, the beauty of that is, without you worrying, because when people are riding two-hand, for some reason, they get into a muddle about what the outside rein should be doing. If you're turning or moving away from the outside of the arena to the inside, all you need is to think of the outside rein just moving against the neck. Right, we'll try that. So we're going to come into normal canter and then sideways into a little bit of canter half pass on this left rein. Come on. Ah. Don't get cross. Just work with me, okay? So, one-handed. Good girl. Come on, we're going. I haven't finished. We'll try that again. Good girl. Let's do a loop. Really, whatever you're doing, you can do with one hand once you understand about the effect of the outside rein. The outside rein now, when I take up two hands, is the one that says to the horse, move off the track. Now I'm going to go right. It's going to be the left rein, not the inside. The inside rein is the turning rein when you've got a very young horse who's learning to just follow your hand. But once the horse is very understanding of you and the aids, you can do it all with the outside rein. It's a bit like American riding, Western riding. But in the Spanish riding school, for example, it's done at a very high level for all the sort of airs above the ground, the more complicated movements, the Grand Prix movements, the turns, the pirouettes. It's nearly all done with the outside rein. The inside rein is doing nothing more than asking for a little bit of flexion. And once you have your flexion to the inside, I've got flexion now with the right rein, that's all I need to do with it. And once the horse is bending, this hand almost becomes obsolete. Now shush, 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 shush. Let's have one little trot without you doing your bunny hops. I'm going to keep my legs as still as quiet as can be. No, Esther, come on. Good girl, good girl. My inside rein's really soft, really soft. The smaller the circle, the softer the rein. The smaller the circle, the softer the rein. Because she's bending, she doesn't need a strong rein. Turning, I don't pull on the inside rein, I do it with the outside rein. Good girl, good girl. Now, just to finish, I want to try and get Esther's shoulders a little bit higher, but it's very difficult when she objects to what I'm doing because she actually needs a tiny bit more leg and a little less hand. We'll just try once more. I'm going to just do it in walk. See if you can see her coming a little taller and a little more collected. Steady, and I'm going to keep my legs tiny, tiny, tiny touches, but very quiet, because she thinks they're far too long and they're annoying her. And almost, this collected work almost can come just from your upper body alone. By sitting taller, she starts to take shorter, more punctuated steps. Then if I allow a little with the tummy, she goes forward again. I take, and she shortens. I give, and she opens out. Now that it's all done with my stomach muscles and my back muscles, and the leg is just giving her tiny touches to say impulsion, because although I'm making small steps, she still needs impulsion to do that. If you had no impulsion, there would be no tiny steps. It's much easier for a horse just to walk forward normally than it is to become more collected. You need more impulsion to get more height in the forehand. Good girl. She's coming up now. Can you see that? As she uses her bottom more, bends her hocks more, the shoulders start to lift. Good girl. So, to sum up today's work, and before I put her mummy back on her, it's something that you have got to feel in your body to get what you want out of the horse. Throw away all the ideas about the horse having to be shortened up in front in order to do good work.